Hi, Lynn again. This video is about solving quadratics by factoring. And first of all, we've been doing all this factoring and you've been probably saying, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? This is why we're doing this. So if we didn't know how to factor and somebody said, you need to solve this equation, x squared minus 9x equals 22. Well, we would go, okay, well, I need to solve for x. So I'm gonna Well, let's see. Do I add 9x to both sides? Do I subtract x and solve for that x? Which x do I solve for? You can't solve it the regular traditional way of just isolating x on one side. So then we go, oh, we need a factor. So one thing that's really important is that this is equal to 0. And this is why. If I have a times b equaling 12, what do I know about A and B? Well, A could be 3 and B could be 4. A could be 4, B could be 3. A could be -4, B could be -3. They could be 1 and 12. They could be 12 and 1. They could be 1/2 and 24, -1/2, -24. In other words, there's an infinite number of possibilities for what A and B could be if all we know is that A times B equals 12. Now something magical happens if we change this to 0. This is called the zero product property. If I'm going to multiply two numbers together to equal 0, I know for sure that either A equals 0 or B equals 0. The only way you're going to multiply and get 0 as an answer is if one of those things is 0. So that's the premise of solving things with quadratics. All right, so given that, we need to have this equal to 0. So that's one of the tips and tricks. Always make sure that your equation is equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 22 from both sides. So I'm going to have x squared minus 9x minus 22 equals 0. So this would be in quadratic form. So this is a quadratic, meaning anything with an x squared equaling 0. And we need to get this, instead of terms being added and subtracted, we need to get this into terms that are multiplied, things that are multiplied. And that we do by factoring. That's why we've been factoring. So we know from our experience of now knowing how to factor that this will factors as x and an x here. And it would be -11 and a +2. Okay, so do you remember when I said A times B equals 0? So either this has to equal 0, so we would go x minus 11 equals 0, or this equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0. And so we're going to get two answers for this. So we're going to add 11 to both sides. So we get x equals 11, or we can subtract 2 from both sides. X equals -2. So those are our two answers that we get from solving a quadratic. So make sure that your equation is equal to 0. If there's an x squared in it, it is a quadratic. You need to recognize that, and then you need to use factoring. You could use the 4-term factoring grouping. You could have a coefficient in front of that x squared, and you would need to use grouping with the AC method. Any of the methods that you've used so far, you might have to use in order to factor this equation. So I hope that helps. See you next time.